an element of ebb and flow in terms of risk sentiment going on at the moment. I tend to see in the very short term this positive global sentiment continuing. Central banks around the world, particularly Fed, ECB, Bank of Japan, have made some very big policy announcements. And I think that is something that is continuing to support risk sentiment in the very short term. So that, I think is a driver for currencies like the Swiss and other safe havens. I think that's probably the short-term driver for now. As we go through the summer, as these central banks begin to show some signs of tapering, and as I expect to see a bit of a pickup in terms of geopolitical risks, I think that's a factor that will probably make safe havens more attractive. But I think in the short term, it's a story of optimism in terms of the global economy recovering, economies reopening from this COVID slumber that we're in at the moment. And I think that's something that's probably supporting risk sentiment in the short term.
That's interesting, because I think this is the first time that a guest is talking about central banks even thinking of tapering. There's still much talk about how they would ratchet up essentially their support for the markets. How would that tie in with your outlook for the USD then?
Look, in the short term, we see, for instance, DXY index, so the key measure of US dollar in the short term, remaining relatively stable around the 100 mark. But as we move through the Northern Hemisphere summer, I think there's 2 or 3 factors that we'll be particularly focused on. One will be the weak data that we're going to see increasingly over the next couple of weeks, and I think that's going to be an important driver. I think secondly, it is the risks that we see increased geopolitical pressure. I think that's a supportive factor. And then I guess the third issue that US dollar will need to face will be the potential for a pickup in terms of COVID cases around the world as we see global economies beginning to reopen. So I tend to see those factors being more supportive for the US dollar through the summer period. And I would certainly be expecting the potential for a retest of the highs that we saw in March on a DXY basis.